Welcome back to Comic Book History. This is episode number 21, and in this episode, we're going to talk about the very first superhero team to ever exist in comic books. Who is this superhero team? The Justice Society of America. Yes, formed in late 1940, created by Sheldon Meyer and Gardner Fox. First appearance was in All-Star Comics number 3, and the founding members of the team are Jay Garrick, the original Flash, Carter Hall, the first Hawkman, Al Pritt, the Atom, Rex Tyler, Hourman, Wesley Dodds, the Sandman, Jim Corrigan, the Spectre, who was also a supernatural character, and he's one of his co-creators was also one of the people who co-created Superman, Joe Siegel. Yeah, he co-created the character. Along with, did I miss anybody? Let me see here. Oh, and Kent Nelson, Dr. Fate. Now, the comic prior to issue 3 had basically, the first 2 issues have been simply just an anthology book featuring the characters. Sandman was the only who appeared in both the first 2 issues before it became just a regular team book for them. But it still had that anthology format for a while. And also who appeared in the first issue was the Red Tornado. No, not the android who appeared in the 1960s. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the woman who dressed up wearing a red cape, a sweater, some great weird-looking pants, and wore a pot on her head. Yeah, she was a parody character, and here's the thing. A lot of the time, people thought Red Tornado was a guy, even though it was a woman. And this woman later got much more credibility in the 2000s when she became the caretaker of the JSA Museum. Thank you, Jeff Johnson, for making that correction. And she's kind of considered to be a founding member, even though she never took any part in any of the missions. She's been associated with them for many years. Also, there were 3 other founding members of the team, but couldn't appear on the book due to... Actually, it was two others who couldn't appear in the book because of a dumb editorial rule. Who were these 2 characters? Superman and Batman. Now, some of you are probably raising your hands like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Superman and Batman found members of the Justice League. There is an explanation for this. It's Earth 2. This is the Golden Age versions of them. The Silver Age versions of these 2 characters helped form the Justice League, which basically remained canon for years. And yeah, it's those 2 plus Robin somehow loosely affiliated being a member of the team despite the fact never taking part in the missions. So, and plus there was this very strange rule where if any of the members got an ongoing series, a solo ongoing series, they are removed from the book and made an honorary member. The first leader of the group was Jay Garrick. He was the first chairman of the group. And then later on he got his own ongoing series, the All Flash Comics, which lasted for, well, originally was quarterly, then it became monthly, and it lasted for several years. Same thing happened, and he was replaced with Johnny Thunder, who did appear in the first issue, the first appearance of the JSA, but he didn't take a regular member becoming issue 6. Green Lantern suffered the same fate, where he, when he got an ongoing series, he was basically forced to be removed from the book. It was a dumb editorial rule, and luckily enough, that rule has never been effective ever again. Thank you for getting rid of that dumb editorial rule. Now, despite the fact Batman and Superman are part of the group, they weren't allowed to appear on the covers of the books originally. I found this out via one of Linkara's. Now, interesting fact, the JSA book, the one published in 2000, was actually Linkara's, Lewis Lovehog's second team ongoing series he got into after Titans. Yeah. So, gotta love the group. So, pretty much, and issue 8 is noteworthy for the introduction of Wonder Woman, though she joined the group until about 3 issues later, where she joined as the group's secretary, and then later on, much later on, she finally took part of the adventures, because it's 1940. Throw in some sexism in there. Yep. Excuse me. Of course, later on, we have people like, we also have Ted Knight, the original Starman. He joined the group, along with Ted Grant, Wildcat, the original Black Canary, Diana Drake Lance, who was also the current Black Canary in the current continuity. I'm trying to think, was there anybody else who joined the group during this period of time? I don't think so, no. Let's see. Dr. Midnight joined, along with the original Mr. Terrific, Terry Salone, and that's it. That's all who joined the group at that point. And the group went on various different adventures. Basically, they also fought various villains, including the Solomon Grundy. They fought the Wizard, which, by the way, the Wizard in DC Comics was nothing like the one in Marvel, where at Marvel he was a tech wizard. This one was an actual sorcerer. And when he made his debut appearance, was by himself in the JSA book. And they also fought characters like the Psycho Pirate, and they even fought. There was even the very first supervillain group ever formed in a comic book, the Injustice Society of the World. Yeah, they appeared a couple times during the original run. The book basically was changed to All-Star Westwood issue 58. So initially, the All-Star Comics book with the JSA in it lasted for 55 issues. And then after the book basically, of course, sort of unceremoniously got canceled. Also, about by issue 22, some of the characters were dropped from the book, like Dr. Face that appeared in the book at issue 22. Yeah, they had this very weird thing where certain characters would be mysteriously disappear from the book, and there's no explanation for it. And the artwork is a bit odd, per se. It's okay artwork for Golden Age standards. But then after the final issue, issue 57, the characters didn't return again for over a decade. They didn't return again until issue 20 of Justice League America, and started a string of annual team-ups with the group, which continued into the 1980s. But in the 1970s, something miraculously happened with the group. What was that? They got the All-Star Comics book back. It came back for 17 issues. No, seriously, it came back for 17 issues. Yeah, it was initially written by Jerry Conway, who was the initial writer of the book. The book had a few different members, a few different writers of the book. It was written by Jerry Conway and Paul Levitz. Yeah, they were the ones who actually did the book. And when they did the book, they actually added a few new members to the group. During the annual team-ups, they added Red Robin. When they revived All-Star Comics, issue 64, they added the Star Spangled Kid, Sylvester Pemberton, and Power Girl, and the Huntress of this particular world. Yep. Yeah, the original Huntress, not the Helen Bertinelli Huntress, not the one who appeared in Earth 2 Society. This is the original Huntress, one who's the daughter of Batman and Catwoman. No, seriously, she's the daughter of Batman and Catwoman. And somebody thinking, Power Girl, you mean the superhero who has the boob window? Yep, that girl. And you can thank Jerry Conway for creating her. So, yeah, one of his more better known characters he's created on the show, in the actual comic book. The reason why the comic ended, like with Firestorm, the DC implosion. So this feature was moved over to Adventure Comics. Now, I haven't read the Adventure Comics issues yet. Excuse me. I'm currently reading Adventure Comics the 400s. So, the only noteworthy thing I can say what happened during these 6 issues was that Golden Age Batman died in the second issue, issue 62. There's a few other noteworthy things happened in the All-Star Comics book. Like, there was during the course of the book, at one point, Commissioner Gordon retired, and Bruce Wayne, who had retired as Batman, became the commissioner of the GCPD, which I'm like, wow, that's something. Yeah, there's even one comic where they were apparently, this was after the annual crossover with Justice League, they apparently were accused of a crime they didn't commit. Of course, they were later cleared of it. They kind of did the same thing with Bruce Wayne later on in the America vs. Justice Society series, which I have not read yet. But it sounds interesting in the premise. Basically, it's something related to Batman's death. Oh, and who kills Batman? A small-time thug. Not one of his villains. A small-time thug kills Batman. Yeah. Then after the feature wrapped up, the JSA still continued the annual team-ups, and then by the time the 1980s, they sort of a renaissance thanks to the All-Star Squadron, which I'll get to them next episode. And they didn't appear that much in the book, mainly because Roy Thomas focused on the other characters, but they did show up sporadically. And then in 1986, something really dumb happened. It's not a terrible one-shot. It's known as The Last Days of the Justice Society. It's a one-shot written by Roy Thomas. Now, I recently read the one-shot. It is a one-shot that he did not want to do. The only reason why this one-shot happened was because of editorial mandate. Yeah, when has that actually worked? An editorial mandate. Yeah, an editorial mandate demanded Roy Thomas get rid of the Justice Society. All but two of them were basically sort of killed in a way. And those were the Star Spangled Kid. He was never killed. And there was one other character, I'm trying to remember who actually, let's see. Let's see here. Yeah, they killed all but one person. Also, during the team-ups, they killed off the original Mr. Terrific. Yeah, he got killed by a villain known as the Spirit King. No, seriously, that's what happened to him. Let's see here. Yep. Yeah, the only people to survive the issue of Last Days Secret Society of the Justice Society were Power Girl, Star Spangled Kid, Spectre, and Dr. Fate. Yeah. They were the only ones who survived the one-shot, but then 6 years later, the Justice Society thing came back, thanks to a miniseries written by the creator of the Suicide Squad, John Ostrander. Thank you, John Ostrander, for bringing these characters back in the miniseries Armageddon Inferno, when the Spectre brought them out of limbo to save the world, and then this later led to their very brief ongoing series in the 1990s. But before they had this series, there was an 8-issue limited series released the previous year. It was the first 5 issues were basically spotlight issues on various different characters who were part of the JSA. And then initially the group came together during the final 3 issues. And here's the thing. The entire 8-issue limited series took place in a period of 1 day. And one thing really interesting happened in this series was that 2 characters who basically met in the All-Star Squadron series got married. Who were these 2 characters? Johnny Quick and Liberty Bell, the first one. Yeah, they got married at the end of the series. Yep. And the series were, let's see. They were written by, I don't know who, let's see, who wrote the first series? Apparently Len Sorzinski, he wrote both of them. But then later on, they got the 10-issue ongoing series written by Len Sorzinski and the artwork by Mike Purbach. Now, this is something I should talk about, this particular one. The reason why it lasted 10 issues was not because of low sales, because the editor of the book the higher-ups didn't care about this book at all, and they thought that a book featuring older superheroes would not be interesting. I read the 10 issues. The series is not bad. It's actually pretty good. It's just that in the first issue they don't do much of anything. It's mainly just Superman just happened to be at a stadium. They just happened to be at fighting some random monster. But yeah, fighting some monster just coming from the earth when they're at the stadium. But it was nice they brought the team back. They had a few members active throughout the course of the series. They had Hawkman. Actually, Hawkman was not active. Basically, it was just Jay Garrick, Al Brett, Ted Grant, and Alan Scott. These 4 were the only ones active in all 10 issues. Occasionally did have the Sammy show for a couple issues and Johnny Quick show for several issues. And it was also revealed during the course of that series that Johnny Quick and Liberty Bell divorced, but they had a daughter. In issue 2 of the series, we had the introduction of Jesse Quick. Yeah, the character who currently appears on Flash right now. Well, as a recurring character. Thanks to this particular series, we got Jesse Quick, a character who later joined the Titans in the 1999 series, which was originally written by Devin Grayson. Yes. Originally, the series was commissioned for 12 issues, but the last couple of issues were printed as Justice League Europe issues 49 and 50, which had the team up with Justice League Europe. Simple as that. Then after the series ended, they just showed up now and again. The team basically disbanded after this, while the members basically joined the Justice League. And of course, you had the Justice Society Returns, which was a series of one-shots that came out in 1998. Great series of one-shots. I highly recommend. There was actually a trade called Justice Society Returns. Yeah, it was a great event. Mainly written by James Robinson and Jeff Johns did these one-shots. It was great. And then something very interesting happened in the year 1999. Because of the success of the JLA series, 2 years after the series started, we had the JSA series. Originally written by James Robinson for the first 4 issues, and then started with issue 5 up into issue 76, and he also issue 81 was written by the awesome Jeff Johns. It's an awesome comic book, really, really good. The book even had a crossover with Hawkman. There's various different stories in it. There's actually a time travel story. There's the Black Rain story, which basically explains of how Black Adam got his country back. It's mainly it's the original JSA was coming back, and the group was originally led by Sand, the character Sand, who was formerly known as Sandy the Golden Boy, who was the sidekick of Sandman. And prior to the series, thanks to the JSA Secret Files and Origins one-shot, which actually took place prior to the first arc of the series, Wesley Dodds was killed. And his life partner, Dana Beaumont, died not long after that. So simply put, the first arc simply was just having the team come together. And it was a great opening arc for the series. I gotta praise Robertson doing a great job. And he even stayed as a consultant for the book for the first year after that. So, like Roy Thomas, Jeff Johns is James Robinson is a huge fan of the Golden Age. Initially, put the people who joined the group, along with some of the original members, were besides Sand, who later became Sandman, was the Jack Knight Starman, who was the son of the original Starman, the second Black Canary, Matthew Tyler, the son of the original Hourman, Adam Smasher, who's Albert Renstein, Hector Hall, the son of Hawkman, Kendra Saunders, who is a creation of James Robinson, who appeared in that Secret Files and Origins one-shot. Who also appeared in Legends of Tomorrow, and he also appeared on Season 2 of The Flash. We also had Stargirl, a character created by Jeff Johns from the series Stars and Stripe. The second Mr. Terrific, Michael Holt, which this character is a creation of John Ostrander. Yeah, he created this character during the last year of his awesome Spectre series. Yeah, he first appeared in issue 54, and he also reappeared for the last issue. So you gotta thank Ostrander for creating another really awesome character. There's also J.K. Thunder, who basically took up the Thunderbolt character briefly. Black Adam was part of the group, along with Captain Marvel. Rick Tyler, who is who's actually an android from the future. He also had a brief ongoing series in the 90s. And that's really it, people who joined the group. And here's something interesting, though. Black Canary left the group because she would join the Birds of Prey. But here's something interesting, though. Everyone's like, who's going to join to replace Black Canary? Who better than Power Girl? Wildcat was so surprised to see Power Girl. Now, I'm not sure why John thought this was a good idea, but okay, fine. The book was great, and it was relaunched as Justice America Volume 3 after Infinite Crisis. And they added several new characters to the group. They added Jesse Quick and Obsidian. Obsidian was a character created by Roy Thomas for for Infinity Inc. They also added Damage, who is the son of Al Pritt, the Starman from the future, Thorn Collar, who was also a Starboy, Maxine Huckle, Cyclone, who was the granddaughter of Ma Hinkle. Jeff Johns, James Robinson were the original writers for this book for the first 25 issues. We also had Tom Bronson, who was the son of Wildcat, Nate Haywood, the grandson of Commander Steel, the second grandson. Let's see. Superman from Kingdom Come, Judo Master, Amazing Man, Lightning, who was the daughter of Black Lightning, Mogog, who was, get this, the great grandson of FDR. No, seriously, he's the great grandson of FDR. We also have Mr. America. I have no idea why they had this character. King of Chimera, Amerikid, Kent B. Nelson, who was the great nephew of the original Dr. Fate, Kent Nelson. The K-Spectre Manhunter, Red Beetle, Rye, Dwight, and they even added the original Liberty Bell, Liberty Lawrence. This was a great comic book, and they even resolved something from Final Crisis with the whole thing of Mary Mara being evil. Yeah, Jeff Johns resolved that in the Adam and Isis storyline, which also ended his run after 25 issues. The book itself lasted for 54 issues, and during the last year of the book, the group originally met of, let's see, who they met. Let's see, let's see if I can find it here. They let's see. They even had a crossover with the Justice League. They initially were headquartered at the Brownstone, I think it was New York, and then during the last year of the book, Guggenheim moved them. Mark Guggenheim, the showrunner of Arrow, moved them to Mountain Point, which was referenced on Arrow twice. Excuse me. And they were headquartered there for pretty much the rest of the series up until the New 52 reboot. They even had not one but two. They had two crossovers with Justice League. One is the Lightning Saga, which was actually referenced in Countdown, which is actually one of the things that brought back the original Legion of Superheroes. And also a crossover with them that happened that James Robinson did. Now, it's an okay crossover. The last one they did before the New 52 relaunch. It's an arc that it was something to tie into Brightest Day. Crossovering the two books didn't really. The book got better after this crossover, but yeah. And then by the time of the New 52 reboot, the JSA completely disappeared. The characters were rebooted on Earth 2, which they didn't do very much. I mean, they had a few minority members, but they never called themselves the Justice Society of America. They called themselves the Wonders of all things. And the original three Wonders were Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. They even had Terry Salone there, who was actually evil for some reason. I have no idea why. But what happened to the original three? Let's see. Superman was sent through a portal, sent to a boom tube to Apocalypse. Batman got killed in an explosion. And Wonder Woman got stabbed by her so-called lover, Steppenwolf, who's also the mother, who's also the father of her only child, Fury. This is the second version of Fury. They initially had the creations of Alan Scott, who was gay in this version, Jay Garrick, who basically looked like a ripoff of Hank Pym for some reason. Yeah, his helmet looks like Hank Pym. There's Hawk Girl, various different characters. They even have Black Superman in the series. Originally, the series was Earth 2 was written by James Robinson for 16 issues. The last issue was simply put this character called one of the Hunger Dogs, basically where he kills Steppenwolf and revealed he was actually Superman. And it was a saga later taken over by. Now, prior to this, they had introduced a new Batman, who turned out to be Thomas Wayne. Now, what had happened though with this was that the identity was leaked, and some say this was the reason why James Robinson left Earth 2, the Earth 2 comic book, and headed up to Tom Taylor. As a matter of fact, some people forget James Robinson did Earth 2. It was still a good book. They introduced new Commander Steel. There was a Wildcat who was like the red entity on there. Yeah. The comic initially ended up 32 issues thanks to the events of the weekly series Earth 2 World's End. I own all 32 issues of that. 26 actually. It's 26 issues. Then after they moved to the Convergence, which Earth 2 Batman got killed. And then, of course, Dick Grayson took over as Batman. Of course, Dick Grayson showed up in the Earth 2 World's End series, who also had Wildcat show up. And then, of course, in the aftermath of Convergence, we also had the very mixed book known as Earth 2 Society, which had a weak start to it when the book was originally by Daniel Wilson, which turned Jimmy Olsen, who was a good guy, known as Dr. Impossible. Well, he was originally the Council, but then he turned into Dr. Impossible, turned into a villain, and basically trapped him in Earth's core. Yeah, the book was okay at best. It was pretty interesting when it got a little bit better when Dan Abnett took over with issue 8, and the book lasted for 22 issues, and the book just ended just recently. And also, I should also mention in the DC Rebirth one shot, we are seeing the return of the JSA properly. When we had Johnny Thunder show up in the issue, and he also recently showed up in Flash 21, which came out last week. There's also the mention of Jay Garrick's helmet. This has popped up a few times, popped a couple times since DC Rebirth. It showed up in issue of 2 issues of Flash, and of course Dr. Fate is over in the Blue Beetle book, doing whatever. But yeah, that's all I really gotta say about the Justice America. It's a really awesome group, and you gotta thank DC bringing these characters back finally. Now, I should point out though, the second volume of Justice Society America is in trade. Yeah, they collected that and the previous volume very recently in trade, so I think it's coming out soon. So you should be able to get it no problem. And I saw it on Amazon, so basically it should be no problem to get it. But yeah, a lot of the stuff for JSA is in trade. Their 70s run is actually in the Showcase Presents All-Star Comics, which collects the initial 17 issues of All-Star Comics that came out in the 70s, and Adventure Comics, I think even DC Special number 20, which basically is the retcon backstory. The original 40s All-Star Comics series is in trade. The JSA series is in trade. They're doing a second printing of that. Started recently when they started collecting more of the stuff. New printing of the trades. Volume 3 is entirely in trade. Earth 2 and Earth 2 Society is definitely in trade. And it's nice DC's bringing back the JSA because they've been sorely missed for the past 5 years in the main DC universe because they sort of moved them over to Earth 2 and they're just rebooted versions of the Golden Age versions. But yeah, it's nice to see these characters coming back, and I'm really hoping that we get a chance to see a Just Side America comic book come out soon. Some people theorize it might be Jeff Johns might be writing the book, because I've heard a rumor for a while the book could be coming back, even before the JS made started to make seeds planted for Epic Return. So, yeah. So, that's essentially it for this episode. Next episode, I'm going to talk about the All-Star Squadron. Yeah, the group that existed, that was a retcon group, existed in the 1980s. The series, the 6-7 issue series, I'm even going to talk about the Young All-Stars to replace the book in the next episode. But yeah, so I will see you all in the next episode. Definitely when I talk about those two groups. And that'll be episode 22. This was episode 21. So see you in episode 22. Okay? Bye.